The moment Liam stepped off the plane, Denver's thin, crisp air wrapped around him like an unspoken challenge. This wasn't Boston. No familiar coffee shop on the corner. No well-worn routes home. No unspoken rhythm guiding him through the city's pulse. His new Capitol Hill apartment boasted floor-to-ceiling windows with a skyline view that should have been breathtaking. But instead, it felt sterile, detached, an empty shell waiting to be filled. The job was exactly what he had wanted, a competitive role in a thriving tech startup. But the long hours in an office of brilliant but socially distant colleagues left him feeling like an observer in his own life. He had always been good at compartmentalizing, at keeping his needs neatly packaged, tied with a bow of professional ambition. But the silence in his apartment stretched too long. The days bled into nights without meaning, and a restless energy curled inside him, seeking an outlet. That's how he found himself at Summit Performance Gym, a sprawling industrial space where iron clashed, bodies strained, and sweat slicked the air with a musky, electric charge. He told himself it was just for fitness, for stress relief, but the moment he locked eyes with the man at the free weights, Liam knew he had just walked into something far more unpredictable. The gym was alive with movement, the rhythmic clatter of weights and low hum of conversation blending into an intoxicating backdrop. Liam scanned the space, trying to get his bearings, but his attention snagged on a figure near the squat rack, a man with broad shoulders, sculpted arms, and the kind of presence that demanded attention without a single word. His tank top clung to his chest, damp with sweat, and his dark blonde hair was slightly tousled, as if he had just run a hand through it in frustration. Liam told himself he wasn't staring, but when the man turned, meeting his gaze head-on, something sharp and electric bolted through him. There was no smirk, no arrogant awareness of being watched, just a slow, assessing glance, the kind that sent a flicker of heat down Liam's spine. Before he could look away, the stranger strode over, his steps confident, unhurried. "You're new," he said, his voice rich and smooth, laced with an edge of amusement. "Need a hand?" Liam swallowed, suddenly aware of how out of place he felt here, among men who knew exactly what they were doing, exactly how they fit into the space. Yeah, I think I might be setting this wrong," he admitted, nodding toward the bench press. The man's lips twitched into something just shy of a smirk. "Lucky for you, I'm a fan of good form." Then, without hesitation, he reached out, his fingers brushing Liam's wrist as he adjusted the bar. The touch was fleeting, but the heat it left behind was anything but. Liam quickly fell into a routine at the gym, and without meaning to, Cody became part of it. At first, their interactions were casual, a nod of acknowledgement, a quick adjustment of form, the occasional joke when one of them struggled with a new weight. But soon, it became something else. Cody didn't just offer tips, he lingered, watching Liam's progress with an intensity that sent a quiet thrill through him. One evening, after an especially brutal chest day, Liam was stretching near the mats when Cody dropped onto the bench beside him, wiping his damp forehead with a towel. "You're catching on fast," he said, his voice lower than usual, threaded with something Liam couldn't quite place. "Most guys take months to get the hang of it." Liam huffed out a breath, shaking his head. "Maybe I just have a good teacher." Cody smirked, stretching one arm over his shoulder, muscles flexing beneath his shirt. "Or maybe you just like showing off for me." The words caught Liam off guard, heat licking at the edges of his composure. He laughed, but it came out more breathless than he intended. Before he could form a response, Cody reached out, brushing his fingers along Liam's forearm, barely there but enough to send a jolt through him. "Relax, man," Cody murmured, amusement flickering in his gaze. "Just saying, I've noticed you noticing me." Liam's pulse hammered against his ribs. Because, damn it, Cody wasn't wrong. And, worse, he knew it. The steam room was thick with heat, curling around Liam's skin in damp tendrils, making the air feel heavier, more charged. He exhaled slowly, leaning back against the smooth tile, eyes closed as he let the warmth seep into his aching muscles. The workout had been brutal. Cody had pushed him harder than usual. His encouragement edged with something teasing, something that sent a different kind of burn through Liam's body. A shift in the air made him open his eyes. Cody had taken the seat next to him, a towel slung low around his waist. Droplets of sweat and steam tracing slow paths down his collarbone and over the ridges of his chest. Liam swallowed hard, forcing himself to look straight ahead. But he felt Cody's presence like a magnet, pulling him in, making it impossible to ignore the space, or lack of it, between them. "You've been quiet tonight," Cody murmured, voice smoother, heavier in the heat. His knee brushed against Liam's. Deliberate, lingering. Liam's breath hitched, his pulse kicking up in a way that had nothing to do with the steam. "Just tired," he managed, but even he didn't believe it. Cody turned his head, eyes dark, searching. "You sure?" The silence stretched, thick and unspoken, before Liam let out a slow breath. "Not really." Cody's smirk was almost lazy, but his gaze never wavered. "Then tell me what you're thinking." And for the first time, Liam wasn't sure he could keep it buried anymore. The air between them felt heavier than the steam pressing against their skin. Thick with something unspoken, something electric. Liam shifted slightly, but there was no real space to create distance, not here. Not with Cody's legs still brushing his. The warmth of his body seeping into Liam's like a slow, dangerous current. Cody didn't push, didn't press, but he was waiting. Liam could feel it. The weight of expectation, of possibility. It hung in the air between them, tantalizing and terrifying all at once. Liam exhaled sharply, tilting his head back against the tile. Eyes fluttering closed. "I don't," his voice wavered. But before he could finish, Cody's hand was on his knee. A firm, grounding touch that sent a slow ripple of heat through him that had nothing to do with the steam. "You don't what?" Cody's voice was low, edged with curiosity rather than impatience. His fingers flexed just slightly. A subtle invitation rather than a demand. Liam forced himself to look at him. And damn, Cody was too close. His lips slightly parted, damp curls clinging to his forehead. His eyes, dark, searching, held something Liam wasn't sure he was ready to name. But he was done pretending. Instead of answering, Liam moved, just enough. Just enough for his knee to press back. For his breath to mingle with Cody's. For the space between them to disappear. Cody smirked, just slightly. "That's what I thought," he murmured, before closing the last of the distance between them. The first kiss was a slow ignition. But this was a wildfire. Cody pressed Liam against the slick, tiled wall of the steam room, their bodies flush, their breath mingling in the thick heat. Liam barely had time to think before instinct took over. His fingers gripping Cody's waist, pulling him in, desperate to close every inch of space between them. Cody's mouth moved with a purpose, deliberate and claiming, his tongue sliding against Liam's in a way that sent a shiver down his spine despite the surrounding heat. Liam gasped against his lips, his body betraying every ounce of hesitation he'd once held. This wasn't just attraction, this was something deeper. Something unrelenting that had been simmering beneath the surface for weeks. Cody's hands were firm but teasing as they roamed, one gripping Liam's hip, the other trailing up his bare chest. Fingertips brushing over heated skin with a confidence that made Liam's pulse stutter. He moaned softly when Cody's lips left his, tracing a slow, tortuous path down his jaw to the curve of his neck, his teeth scraping just enough to make Liam's breath catch. "Still unsure?" Cody whispered against his skin, voice low, teasing, edged with something darker, something possessive. Liam's fingers dug into Cody's back, his head falling back against the wall, exposing more of himself without a second thought. "Shut up," he muttered, dragging Cody back up to kiss him. Deeper this time, harder. Because no, he wasn't unsure. Not anymore. Liam hadn't expected things to escalate so quickly. But now, there was no stopping it. The gym was closed, the steam room silent except for their ragged breathing and the occasional hiss of mist filling the space. Cody's body was pressed against his, their damp skin slick with heat and sweat, the tension between them crackling like a live wire. Cody's lips ghosted over Liam's jawline, his breath hot against his ear. "You've been driving me insane," he murmured, his voice thick, edged with something primal. His fingers traced slow, deliberate lines down Liam's torso, igniting every nerve along the way. Liam shuddered, gripping Cody's shoulders, unsure if he was trying to pull him closer or hold himself steady. Their mouths met again, and this time, there was nothing hesitant about it. It was desperate, raw, a silent confession neither of them could put into words. Cody's hands were everywhere, mapping the planes of Liam's body like he'd been waiting for this moment all along. Liam arched into the touch, gasping when Cody's lips trailed lower, teasing, exploring. The steam wrapped around them, their bodies moving in sync, the heat amplifying everything. Liam's pulse roared in his ears, drowning out any lingering doubts. Right now, nothing else mattered, not the gym, not the consequences, not the fact that this was new and terrifying. Because with Cody, it felt right. And for the first time in months, Liam wasn't overthinking, he was simply feeling. Liam hadn't meant for it to turn into something more. Or maybe he had, but he wasn't ready to admit it yet. After that night in the steam room, everything between them had changed. The stolen glances, the accidental touches, the tension that had always been simmering between them, it had finally boiled over, leaving them exposed in a way that neither of them could ignore. Now, in Cody's apartment, with the city lights flickering beyond the window, Liam found himself standing in the dimly lit space, feeling unsteady in a way that had nothing to do with nerves and everything to do with anticipation. Cody leaned against the counter, his gaze unreadable, yet undeniably heated. "You don't have to stay," he said, but the way his fingers tightened around the edge of the counter told a different story. Liam swallowed hard. "I want to," he admitted, voice barely above a whisper. That was all it took. Cody closed the distance between them in a heartbeat, his hands finding Liam's waist, pulling him in, pressing their bodies together. Their mouths met in a slow, languid kiss, nothing rushed, nothing frantic, just pure, unspoken understanding. The weight of everything else faded, replaced by the way Cody's hands moved over him, the way his lips traced the column of Liam's throat. Liam exhaled shakily, letting go of whatever had been holding him back. Whatever this was, whatever it was becoming, he wasn't running from it anymore. The morning light filtered softly through Cody's bedroom window, casting golden streaks across the tangled sheets. Liam stirred, warmth pressing against his back, a steady breath ghosting over his shoulder. Cody. The weight of last night settled over him, not with regret, but with something deeper, something terrifyingly real. He turned slightly, just enough to watch Cody in the quiet. His features were softer in sleep, his usually sharp edges dulled by the stillness of the early morning. Liam's fingers itched to trace the lines of his jaw, to map out the freckles scattered across his shoulder, to memorize this moment before reality crept back in. Last night hadn't been just heat or tension spilling over, it had been something else. Something that had unraveled Liam in a way he hadn't expected. As if sensing his gaze, Cody stirred, his eyes flickering open, a slow smile tugged at his lips, his voice still husky with sleep. "You're staring." Liam swallowed, his throat tight, just thinking. Cody reached out, his fingers brushing over Liam's wrist, grounding him. "Stay," he murmured, voice low but certain. And for the first time in a long time, Liam didn't feel the urge to run.